Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin'. Priscilla here with the June/July art journal with me video. I know I didn't put out one last month. I had just got back from vacation and thought I would have the energy, motivation, whatever you want to call it, to put out another page, and I just did not. I did not accomplish much after my vacation. So, sorry about that. I hope you guys aren't too disappointed. I'm going to try to do another page this month to make up for the difference, but if I don't, this will be the de facto June-July page. So, what I'm doing here is just using some old vintage book paper that I picked up when I was in California, and just adhering it to the back with a glue stick. You don't really need to break out your high quality, matte mediums and stuff when just using like old book paper like this and sticking it onto paper. So like a glue stick works just fine. You can use whatever you have on hand. I know sometimes people will let me know that they don't have like Tombow glue and stuff like that. You don't need a lot of fancy glues or anything like that. I mean, Mod Podge works too. But I wanted to use the glue stick because it was convenient, and I know it's going to stick book paper down without any difficulties whatsoever. And I just wanted to let you guys know that you didn't need to stock up on a bunch of fancy glues. You could really use just basic stuff that you have on hand and achieve really great results. Plus, it's an art journal page, so it's not like it has to be professional quality. It's probably going to be just for you or your channel. But having had this page done for about a week now, nothing has lifted or peeled up or anything like that. There's no warping, which is nice because there's not a lot of water in a glue stick. So, perks to using cheap stuff. So I just trimmed off the excess book pages here, and then what you're going to see is that I forget to do the one thing I told myself like 100 times before I started filming to do, which was gesso the page, which I realized right about here that I had forgotten to do the thing I reminded myself to do 500 times. So what I'm going to do is get some clear gesso from Prima and apply that to the whole page, so that my Tombow marker will work just fine. And that is, I'm going to be using the Tombow dual brush markers. I've had a couple of them for a while, but I just recently acquired a bunch more, and have decided that now I'm going to go try to collect as many of them as possible, because I enjoy them a lot, and I think that they have their pros and cons, but I like them for the sheer fact that you don't have to use a lot of the ink or the pigment to achieve a really pretty result or like a filled in piece. Like, see, I only had to do a little tiny swipe to make this whole circle. And as much as I love mermaid markers, I feel like it takes a lot of the ink to do stuff with the markers. And they're not like, I mean, they are refillable, but there's no refill available for them. So, that's why I decided to start picking up more Tombow markers instead. Plus, they're selling them like individually at Michael's right now, which is exciting to me. So, for this page, what I wanted to do, the theme is going to be summer swelter, because it's Texas and I'm burning alive. So that's all I can really think about, and the only thing I can like draw any artistic inspiration from is the 10 billion degree weather. So trying to make a page that represents summer to me, or gives me that summer vibe. So what I'm going for here is kind of a loose version of impressionism. So I'm not adding down anything like in particular or using a lot of detail with this initial pass over. So I'm just kind of loosely adding a bunch of colors to the background to get the feel, and I think you can tell kind of what I'm going for, what flower I'm making right now. Because it's summertime in Texas, it has to be sunflowers, and I think that's probably one of my favorite things about living in Texas, is that you can mark the seasons by what flowers are in bloom. And in summer, like right now, we have a bunch of sunflowers coming up on the sides of the roads and the freeways and stuff, and they're about to all bloom, so I'm just excited for that. I think it's gorgeous, and it's like the only thing to look forward to when it's 100 billion degrees outside. So I'm keeping it really loose here. I am going to go back and add more detail later, but if you're intimidated by drawing, or you feel like your art skills aren't that great, you could totally go for like a loose impressionism kind of thing and just leave it like this, which I really recommend, especially if you're intimidated by the idea of art journaling because you feel like your art's not good enough. Just try something that gives you the impression of what you're looking for to start out with. And then, if you feel a little bit more confident, you can do what I do here and go back and add more details. later on and get a totally different looking page from it. But I thought it was fun to just kind of slap some color down, move it around a little bit with the water to, you know, spread it out and make everything full, but without actually going in deliberately painting, you know, the perfect petals on everything and stuff like that. So now I have some Distress Oxide and Spice Marmalade and Squeezed Lemon. I'm going to use this Dina Wakley stencil that I got from Tuesday Morning. It's like a stamp stencil combo pack. I don't know what it's called because I don't remember that kind of stuff. And I'm just using that to kind of break up the page a little bit and enhance the background. I could have done the whole background first, but I really wanted to start out with this focal image because it was the most prevalent thing in my head, and everything else was just kind of a, you know, on a whim, I guess, as I went along, you know, stuff that I grabbed. So I didn't have anything like prepared this time, like I usually do for these videos. I only had the idea that I want to put sunflowers down with the Tombow markers, and that was it. And don't be afraid to, you know, stencil over your focal image either, because that'll help make your images cohesive and like they're part of an overall image and not like they're, you know, two separate pieces that you stuck together on the same page. And so after this, I decided that because I'm gonna go in with a black pen later to add more details, that I needed to add more black to the background. And, you know, so I made this little like de facto border with this stamp from Kaisercraft. I don't know what it's called. I want to say it's called like grunge or speckle or something like that, but I have no idea, so don't quote me. So I made like kind of a de facto border with this stamp and kept it loose too, because, you know, the image is loose and the everything is pretty random looking, so I wanted it to seem like that. And now I'm just using a regular black gel pen to go in and add like details to the petals and draw out the flower and give it a little more definition. But I'm also not concerning myself with getting the perfect shapes or anything like that, because like I said, I started out with something that was looser and more impressionistic, so I want to keep that kind of vibe, but I do want to add some more details. So I'm not even following the brush strokes necessarily, as I'm just trying to sketch in petal shapes where there's spots of color and work with, you know, the amount of color I have in those locations. And you'll have to forgive me for getting my head into this frame, because I forgot at some point that I was actually making a video, and so my head, you know, just sort of gradually works its way in until I remember, and then it comes flying back out. So sorry. And I guess it's also important to note that I'm not using any reference photos or anything. This is just the idea of sunflowers in my head onto the paper as they are in my head. So, you know, they could be any flower. They might not even look like sunflowers to you, but that's what a sunflower looks like to me in my head. Like big splotches of happy yellow color. So here I'm just using a Jane Davenport paint over pen, paint over marker, something in the white. It's the smallest tip. I think it's called medium, but I think it's the smallest tip that there is available, just to add a little bit of highlight and to brighten up the flowers a little bit. And then I decided that the page didn't have enough black to match the black line work, so I'm just going to go in with some Tim Holtz rub-ons and add those to the page. And I will say this was a learning experience, because I have never actually added rub-ons on top of gesso. Usually I add them all down to the background first and then gesso over it. So I hadn't experienced this before and realized it's a lot harder to get rub-ons onto a gessoed background than it is onto just like straight plain paper. So, you know, that's something to consider too if you're gonna try to do this or journal along with me, is how hard it is to get rub-ons onto gesso. Because I had to stop at some point and kind of skip ahead, like stop the video, because it took me a little minute to get those on. So you can see, like, the struggle is real here. So, totally skipped ahead because I realized at that point it wasn't going on easily. So now I'm just trying to, like, pick through some more of those Tim Holtz clipping stickers to come up with a sentiment or, like, a little snippet poetry to add to my page. And at first I was being, like, really choosy and particular, as you can see, but then I just started to, like, grab things that, like, caught my eye, and I think I really like that. It's nice to be a little more spontaneous, I guess. And see, there's that hand of frustration as I'm waiting for the inspiration to leap off those stickers and come to me. And you could do this with cutting out, like, little phrases and stuff from book page, because that's pretty much what these stickers are just stickers that they, like, copied pieces of book text and put them together on a sticker sheet. So you could totally, if you don't have those stickers, just cut out little snippets of book text and do the same thing. And so here I'm using some Liquitex acrylic ink in gold to brighten up the page, shine up my words, and really highlight the sentiment in the middle. So I'm making little borders around those stickers. And this was mostly because I just got that ink and really wanted to try it out. And I love it, you guys. You might see it on a lot more pages coming up because it is so much fun. I'm just keeping the lines really rough and, you know, painterly. We'll say painterly. Not really worried about them being perfectly straight or neat or anything like that. In fact, I don't want them to, because the rest of the page has kind of got a messy, rough kind of feel to it, so the line there has it. And here I'm just adding some little squiggles to the corners to kind of tie in that gold all across the page. And then I'm just using up the rest of the ink that I had on my mat so that it doesn't go to waste. I think it was like $7 a bottle, so it's not, like, super expensive, but it's not cheap either. I didn't want to waste it. And there's a little bit of a close-up for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at ReleaseTheCraft, and have